Hello, my name is Trenton. I'm here to refute a claim made a couple weeks ago. That main proposition is that advertising techniques used today do more harm than good to our society. The advocate had three secondary claims, and the first one is that food and drink advertisements sell material items that are unhealthy and harmful to people. I found an issue with the reasoning in this claim because within this claim, there is no qualifier or distinguishing factor within the advocate's argument between healthy advertised food and unhealthy advertised food. Additionally, the advocate bundles alcohol advertisements with food and fast food advertisements in his argument, which are all separate topics that need to be argued separately. For instance, food and fast food can be healthy or unhealthy, whereas alcohol really does have no clear benefit. To accept the advocate's claim would require us to agree with the advocate that all advertised food and fast food is unhealthy and harmful. To reject this claim would say that all advertised food and drink is healthy, including alcohol, which we know is untrue. This weakens the proposition because it requires the audience to make an either-or decision and ignore healthy advertised food exceptions like Subway, Activia, Florida Orange Juice, Cheerios, Special K, etc. Moving on to their next point, the opponent attempted to address the opponents of his proposition, stating opponents argue that advertisers do not criticize or mock people to make them buy a product. While this may be true or untrue, the advocate does not state why criticizing people to buy a product does more harm than good to our society. Additionally, there is no comparison acknowledgement of how advertising techniques can be good for society. This weakens the proposition because it does not address the harms and also ignores the clear benefits of advertising, which were mentioned comparatively in the proposition. Allow me to reread the proposition. Advertising techniques used today do more harm than good to our society. This brings me to a quick counterclaim that when companies advertise, they are competing with each other, and this is good for society. According to the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S., comparative advertising, when truthful and non-deceptive, is a source of important information to consumers and assists them in making rational purchase decisions. Comparative advertising encourages product improvement and innovation and can lead to lower prices in the marketplace. So this was a clear opposition to the advocate's argument that was not addressed that really needed addressing. Moving on to their final claim, techniques advertisers use today makes impressionable people feel inferior. Again, there's a reasoning challenge with this. The advocate does not make the connection as to why this is bad to society. No information is given to support or infer how by making people feel inferior, society is harmed. This also proposed an evidence challenge. The statistics used in this argument were provided by The Sun, which is a non-reliable website source revolving around news in the United Kingdom, not the United States. Within the article, they do not say how The Sun's data was compiled, and it cannot be determined how accurate the number is, even if it's potentially applicable to the U.S. It's also worth noting that The Sun is a tabloid that specializes in drama, celebrities, and user-submitted articles. Since 1970, it has had a topless model on page 3 of every issue and has published many hoax articles like Freddie Starr ate my hamster and woolly mammoth sighted in Siberia. Simply attempting to cite this source in easybib.com prompts a warning stating, thesun.co.uk is not credible. Please click here to learn more. Therefore, it is not adequate evidence. That ends my refutation on advertising techniques used today do more harm than good to our society. Thank you.
Sorry. See you in the parking lot.
Okay, well, the advocate's main claim is labeled, and then you label each of the secondary claims as you get to them. That's pretty reasonable. The challenge on the first point is basically an argument that says that they fail to distinguish between the different kinds of benefits. It's kind of like there's an argument about a sweeping generalization or the disjunctive generalization that says it ignores that there are, in fact, exceptions here. And then you have some nice hypotheticals that you point out there. I think that's okay. You probably need to show us, again, some of the arguments that the advocate used on that particular point to make that more reasonable. But the contrary examples I thought were pretty effective. I'm not sure that the alcohol thing is the best way of dealing with that. By the way, I'm not sure that you would want to assume that alcohol is automatically a negative. Because I've heard plenty of speeches where people are talking about how there are benefits from doing that too. So there's a potential counterclaim there. You didn't utilize it. That's not a problem. But I think you've got a reasonable challenge to the advocate's reasoning process on that point. It would be stronger if you had some more information on those other benefits. That's what you're doing on the second point, is basically arguing that there are benefits, and I think that that's the strongest part of the argument, where you show that providing the competitive advertising produces some substantial benefit to consumers, both on costs and information and those sorts of things, and I think that works really well. On the last point, I think that you did a nice job explaining the relevance of the advocate's claim and presenting a challenge to the advocate's evidence, although I do think you want to specify what that evidence said. I know that the source is challenged. I'm not sure that I remember that their evidence was all that controversial to begin with. So, if the sun is saying that the world is round just because it comes from the sun doesn't mean I wouldn't believe it. On the other hand, if the sun was saying something controversial, then I might be concerned about that. So if you could remind us what the evidence said, then it would be a lot easier to tell whether the generic challenge on the sun as a source is applicable in this situation. All right, thank you.